Is it better right now?
Better.
I think I find the solution.
You are.
Probably he didn't find the solution.
Good joke.
No, I think it's a problem with internet connection, latency.
Pani. No to rzeczywiście.
Good morning, everyone. Here's Kamil Basaj from INFO OPS Polska Foundation. Sorry once again for late. Maxim has some critical technical problem with joining us. Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
It's great to hear you and to see you all. And sorry for that untraditional first 20 minutes, but we will start. Maxim will join us and show the presentation on the end of the conference. But first of all, I would like to say hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have two great reports to present. One about Russian operations targeting relations between Poland and Ukraine, which will present Marianna. Hello, Marianna. And second report about similar topic about Russian and Belarusian operations targeting relations between Poland and Lithuania by Giedrius. Hello, Giedrius. So we are doing this project under Ministry of Foreign Affairs grant. under Diplomatic Publicity Diplomatic 22-23. It is called Albatros. One of the tasks was to create this kind of reports, to build the capability in the society to recognize this kind of operations, to strengthen our societies of Ukrainian, Lithuanians, Poles, and in both relations. And I think it is one of the most important topic to discuss how we can counteract these operations. So starting, Marianna, the floor is yours. Your report, Divide and Conquer, I think the title is really suggestive, but please tell us more about it. Thank you.
Marianna, we cannot hear you.
Thanks. It happens to me very often. Good afternoon or good morning, dear colleagues. My name is Marianna Prysiazhniuk. I'm a journalist, researcher, and this was joint project with Ukrainian Crisis Media Center and INFO OPS from Poland. We were very grateful for this opportunity to elaborate some joint recommendation and joint insights about informational influence of Russian Federation regarding our bilateral relationship, and we tried to impose some new framework how to investigate this, because from our perspective, it's not already enough to establish just narratives. We need to keep an eye on effects, manipulation potential, and what kind of effects in our politics it brings. So as I understand, I need to share my presentation from my laptop because we prepared in another way. So just 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Well, I will start 1 second to hide slide bar. Okay, it's better not to adjust. Our report name is Divide and Conquer, and it's really a suggestive name because this is the main strategy how Russian Federation operates within Ukraine and neighboring countries. Because the main idea is that after a great invasion, full-scale invasion started, neighboring country has become main supporters from the logistical points of view, from the diplomatical point of view, and very other dimensions have been brought in help to manage this helpful relationship and to support Ukraine and whatsoever. Definitely, report includes much more broader perspective, and I suggest to focus on the following points for our discussions. I will tell you in detail about our study, about core concepts, which methodology we have elaborated to investigate this, because this is our approach which we used for the first time, and I hope to receive your feedback also in this regard. We will discuss also adaptation of Russian meta-narratives in more regional context. I will tell you more about actually results, and we will switch into discussion of recommendation through SWOT analysis, how much Russian Federation is effective on in the given period of time. Well, as I mentioned, our study objectives include examination of Russian influence in Polish media, in Polish informational environment, and For this scope, to fulfill this scope, we identified how meta-narratives, how big myths are adapted to regional context, to Polish context, and together with this, alongside with this, to Ukrainian context. Because one of the particularity of informational influence on bilateral relations between our two countries is intention to manipulate two societies to create some unconditioned hatred between two societies and limit understanding between two societies. And for this, to fulfill this purpose, Russian Federation, Russian propaganda, despite I'm not very big supporter of these terms, let's use this Russian propaganda, try to generate this misunderstanding, and for this purpose, it should be manipulated both Ukrainian audience and Polish audience, and obviously for this we have different sets of narratives. Well, the core concept that we put in the how we built our research is manipulative potential. We investigated how destructive in what extent, better to say, destructive these narratives that we calculated, because there is a formula and there is relationship between all this set of headlines that we analyzed. And we tried to calculate in what extent it is manipulative and how it is affect political agenda in general. Well, manipulative potential in our research is understood as a set of capabilities that use state propaganda, in this case Russian propaganda, to shape the audience perception of specific events by abstracting and concretizing the meta-narratives and narratives to the local communication context and the Russian Federation's sharp power. I will not talk very much details about soft power. I'm obvious that you are aware about this, but I would like to suggest one details when we talk about Russian propaganda. It's much more clear to use a term of sharp power, because there is nothing about attraction in Russian information influence. That is also our suggestion to understand how Russia operates in informational environment. How manipulative potential practically operates in informational space. It affects thoughts, behavior, and emotions. And we look at political, public behavior, public reflections, and public emotions. So it is not about some relationship between people. It's relationship between society, within society. It's relationship in order to pre-electoral period. This is societal dynamic and whatsoever. For our analysis, we collected a set of data. We analyzed headlines from Russia Today website, main website. Why Russia Today? Because we believe this is the main sources which strategically impose narratives in the foreign informational influence of Russian Federation. Sorry, and being the most influential media outlet, we can see the broader perspective how Russian media coverage is conceptualized within this site, within this media company. And obviously it's supported by states, so we have several indicators which tell us about the implication in informational operations and psychological operations, whatsoever campaigns toward foreign states. The study used a data set to analyze manipulative potential, collecting headlines published on RT, as I said, starting from February 24 and until September 30. So I ask you very much not to focus your attention on these events that we have right now on border because our data set doesn't cover this period. Our data set ends relevant until September 30. So, but it provides a lot of insight about how Russian Federation misbehaved, better to say, in the context of Russian aggression, in the context of Polish-Ukrainian bilateral cooperation in the wartime and whatsoever. Data analyzed using Microsoft Office Excel, and you can see on the following slide the formula which we used. To calculate manipulation potential, we asked experts from international relations domain who are specialized in Polish-Ukrainian relations to estimate collected headlines in regard of manipulations. Also, we practically, with our efforts, did fact-checking of all this set, and it became another one fact-checking coefficient. And we split all this more than 1,000 headlines into rating and into topic, and we rate all this topic regarding the impact, how they were represented in the media coverage, and how much they affect, how much they were represented in political speeches, that how we understand they impact in informational agenda. And it was our third rating coefficient. You can see how it's calculated. Raw data can be requested if you are interested into this methodology afterwards. And the most interesting part about what we actually have discovered. I will start from the meta-narratives and the adaptive narratives in the local Polish-Ukrainian context, because it's important to understand that from the strategical point of view, Russian informational component in this warfare is like pyramid, and broader context could be adapted, could be adjusted to the local context, and as I mentioned before. And it's important to see what is the place of these local narratives in much more broader context. When for example, when we are talking, when we are talking about Western cope in Ukraine, a revolution of dignity, and in that perspective, how Russia intends to portray it, the broader perspective is anti-NATO rhetoric, anti-Western rhetoric in other countries, especially in European member states, where Russia tried to incite this misunderstanding between member states and to underline the destructive role of Western policy, NATO policy whatsoever, and further it adapts to the context, to the local context. But it's important to see from different angles what type of meta-narratives Russia implies in specific situation, because it's all constructed in some logical perspective, logical alternative perspective of international relations from the Russian Federation. For Ukrainian Polish context, it is interesting to look at historical revanchism narratives which Russia tries to incite, and especially based on the narrative of Second World War, because was for Ukraine and was for Poland, it's very sensitive line of miscommunication. And especially in the Polish informational environment, where we have German factor and where we have Belarusian factor, and especially when it comes also to the narrative, anti-Ukrainian narratives like Banderization or whatsoever. So it's all circulating in the broader context of the historical revanchism, which Russia tries to impose and adapt to the local context. It's also worth to keep an eye on narratives, micro narratives, I would say, in the local context, and compare how it circulated all together. For Polish audience, it's the main topics. Russia tries to disseminate it in the aggression of Ukrainian in Poland and leading to domestic conflicts as a result of these manipulations, memory politics influencing historical perspective, as I said, economic rivalry, especially in grain export. For Ukrainian context, for Ukrainian informational environment, it's very destructive. Could be Poland profits from the war narrative, spreading rumors about the radical policy of the Polish authorities toward Ukrainian refugees, so-called Polish occupation of Ukrainian territory. And here, again, I would suggest to keep an eye on broader context, because this strategy implies not only on Polish-Ukrainian relationship, it's also actual for Polish-Romanian context, for Polish-Hungarian context, and Russia tries to impose this revanchist rhetoric from the side of all Ukrainian neighbors. And okay, this is a repetition. So next, top 10 of manipulative topics in the Russian media regarding our calculations. Well, the first headlines that received the most of our scores. Polish authorities say that they have no plans to extend aid to Ukrainian refugees. Ex-US intelligence officer Victor, millions of Ukrainians will flee to Poland after Ukrainian forces defeat. The behavior of Ukrainian refugees has shown that need to denazify Ukraine. So as you see, top 3 related to the topic of Ukrainian refugees, and it's very dangerous because it could affect social dynamic very quickly, spreading hatred and local conflicts on all the level between people, on horizontal level, on vertical level, and whatsoever. But Ukrainian refugees, it is not the only singular topic that could influence, in a broader context, political agenda of 2 states. Number 4 is, I would say, it relates to the historical revanchism and sensitive historical parts in common past relationship. Yes, again, refugees and and spreading a fear in Polish society regarding the possible implication in the war is also applicable to this story and to this period. Well, coming to our recommendations, I would suggest to make this short exercise to analyze how much Russian propaganda is efficient, how many directions it has to make it more efficient. It's important to understand how much space it has in order to counter it. From our analysis, we can say that to the strengthens of Russian propaganda, we can conclude Russian language information sources, big network of anonymous channels like Telegram, branches, the branch toolkit of this manipulative topic, because usually it is always the same, just adapted to the local agenda. But here we have also some weaknesses because of this centralized good planning of propaganda in the form of crisis communication from the Russian part. It has its inability to react very quickly. So from our perspective, the most weaknesses of Russian propaganda, this is the lack of an ad hoc response, especially when it comes to very sensitive topics, and which is comes up to agenda very unplanned and like when nobody expects it. And it can be benefit for two states in jointly countering information threats as long as it's considered, and as long as political relationship and political speeches and whatsoever cooperation is considered also from this perspective that it could be affected by Russian Federation informational operations, and as well that we have from our part, our strengths to respond quickly. When we respond quickly, respectively, Russian Federation observes its weaknesses from the informational point of view, definitely. Opportunities for Russian propaganda. I would say the most dangerous part in this, from the point of opportunities for Russian informational operations, this is the ability to influence different societies simultaneously. And especially when a lot of states have representation of newly settled Ukrainian community from the Ukrainian refugees, majority of whom really want to stay in that country. This is a new channel of dissemination of Russian propaganda because of language matter. From the Poland perspective, this what limits actually Russian propaganda dissemination, because only 80% of Polish people are able to consume information in Russian language. Because to consume it's not only enough to know language or on intermediate level, it should be comfortable to consume information, to understand, and only 80% of consumers in Poland are able to do this. And it limits Russian informational influence very much. But having in the territory, having in Poland territory, newly established Ukrainian community, it could be provoke some challenges in this regard. So it should be taken into consideration as well. Threats, mutual. That is actually what I have been saying, mutual integration of Ukrainians and Polish information space in this regard, especially in the context of a lot of new people in country, in Poland, should be considered as a basement for further effectiveness of countermeasures. To threat Russian propaganda, actually, I mean here what threats from the Russian perspective, how we can threat it, incorporation of these people into a joint mechanism. Maybe something could be designed from the informational perspective to employ these people to use their skills and knowledge so that Russian Federation information capacity not to use them instead. Yes, and the general recommendation. We recommend to activate, or better to say reactivate, bilateral mechanism, joint platforms, think tanks, whatsoever, because as far as I know, there are a lot of multiple units where experts coordinate within themselves, where journalists coordinate within themselves, and this is a high time to reactivate all these platforms, all this mechanism to get people together from within your force. We recommend to limit the impact of the current political situation and sensitive political agenda of Polish-Ukrainian relations when it comes to such joint mechanism, analytical platform, journalist platforms, cultural platforms, and not to mix all these matters to avoid negative impact on all information and cultural space. We recommend also to minimize the potential impact of Russian information operations on strategic areas of Polish-Ukrainian relations by reducing vocalization, highlighting by the top political person in both countries, and to consider that this sensitive topic could be misused against two states from the Russian Federation part. Yes, I guess this is all from my side. Here you can see my contacts for your questions, suggestions, critical comments, and I welcome you to impose your ideas, your feedbacks on my email. You can drop me something interesting. We recent other projects that we have started, Cognitive Security Lab. We provide psychological, linguistic, and statistical analysis of malign information influence. I will be very glad to cooperate. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Marianna?
No, Maxim, we cannot hear you. Marianna, it is absolutely great report. If there are some questions to Marianna, please do not hesitate to ask. I think what is one of the most important issue is to build common daily cooperation capabilities to counter Russian information attack on every side of the border. I mean, also attacks aimed at the relations with Lithuania and Ukraine and our partners and friends. Are there any questions to report of Marianna? If there are no questions, I will give the floor to Giedrius. Giedrius, you are the co-author of another report we have to present about Russian operations targeting relations between Poland and Lithuania. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kamil. I just need prepare my presentation. Could you see my presentation?
Yes, we see it, absolutely.
Let me start. Hello, everyone. I'm Giedrius. I'm from Vilnius. I'm director of the Publica Civic Resilience Center. And together with our Polish partners, we prepared our report, and I would like briefly to present it. Not in details. Details you will find in the report itself, but the main things I would like to mention. Relations between Lithuania and Poland have been strongly improving recently, and since the beginning of the Russian brutal war against Ukraine, the two countries have arguably become ever closer, becoming Ukraine's most vocal advocates both in the European Union and in the NATO. They share a common view on Russia and the defense of the region. They are bringing European countries together in a coalition, and they are advocating tough sanctions against Russia and Belarus. Lithuania has been important to Poland because Poles are the largest minority in the country. According the 2020 first year survey, there are 183,000 Polish nationals in Lithuania, representing around 6.5% of the population. The attitude of the Lithuanian public towards Poland is consistently improving. Poland is treated as a partner, a country with which we have many common strategic projects and with which many of our interests coincide. In March 2022, a poll commissioned by the public broadcaster LRT and conducted by the Baltios tyrimai showed the Polish president Andrzej Duda is one of the most favoritely perceived world leaders, with 7 out of 10 Lithuanians having a positive opinion on him. So, with the improving relations, projects underway, and united position on many issues related to the war, it's not surprising that the Russia and Belarus would want to damage these relations. So mutual distrust, recall old grievances, and pursue their internal strategy of divide and rule. That is why, since the beginning of the war, both official representatives of the Kremlin and various pro-Russian groups, propaganda pages, and the fake profiles have been trying to target the relations between our countries. The range of topics have been quite broad, from repetition of historical grievances to the dissemination of Russian propaganda messages related to the Polish and Lithuanian government decisions. And now I would like to present you methodology, the place and time. Location, of course, is Lithuanian virtual information space. The period we monitored to have results is from February 24th of 2022 till the 10th till the 1st of October this year. What was aim and research questions? The main objective of the research was to identify Russian Belarusian disinformation narratives that may have a negative impact on relations between Polish and Lithuanian societies. Most of these narratives are disseminated in the various pro-Kremlin groups on the social media. While it is difficult, if not impossible, to prove that Kremlin's propagandists are directly involved in these groups, it is clear that the various actors in these groups are inspired by official and unofficial Kremlin's propaganda. Much of the information is disseminated by the fake profiles, whose aim is to spread as widely as possible a false and manipulated narrative related to the relations between Lithuania and Poland, or to the decisions and statements of the Polish and Lithuanian authorities. The research sought to identify the most common narratives and the aims behind them. The results of the research will help to identify the narratives and aspects of the relations exploited by the Russian and Belarusian propagandists, and to spread distrust between Polish and Lithuanian societies. Selection of the content for the study. To carry out the research, the main groups spreading Russian and Belarusian propaganda in Lithuania were first identified mainly on Facebook and Telegram platforms. They generally share the same content and narratives, and it is same fake profiles that spread the information through all the groups they reach. Our study looked at both Lithuanian and Russian-speaking groups, as many people in Lithuania speak Russian and consume Russian content. The study also looked at the Lithuanian public sphere. What narratives prevailed in the public sphere when it came to relations between Lithuania and Poland? Only those narratives that were disseminated in the pro-Kremlin groups were selected for the study. The main research method was qualitative research. To carry out the research, keywords were used to select content that talked about Poland and Poles, and to decide whether the content fell under the objective of the research. All content that simply aimed to comment on current affairs and where people express their options was excluded. The focus was specifically on the groups and profiles whose aim is to spread the Kremlin's narratives in Lithuania. All narratives we found, they were divided into 2 large groups, which turn break down into smaller narratives. And okay, well, we have the 4th group is other narratives. They are not going under 3 first, and I will tell you a bit more in details about the narratives. History is the history. Okay, we're putting at the number one. The history. History is used to disseminate Kremlin narratives in Lithuania. Most often, its facts are distorted or complex pages of the region's shared history are manipulated. Under this group, we found these narratives. The first one: Poland wants to regain the Vilnius county. Second, Poland wants to regain Western Ukraine. Russia saved Lithuania from the Polonization. Lithuanians and Poland share history is demeaning to Lithuanians. I'm not going into the details, into examples on that narrative. You will find in this report, which will be distributed. The second group of the narratives is really a big one. It's quite fresh because it's now is really, how to say, it is very actual. When the open war started again against Ukraine, since the beginning of the war, the Kremlin's narrative on the war in Ukraine have multiplied and new angles have emerged, targeting both Lithuanian and Polish aid to Ukraine, closer cooperation between two countries, and Ukrainian refugees, of whom Lithuania and Poland have taken in perhaps the largest numbers. And in this group, where we can find the following narratives: Poland is preparing to get involved in the war in Ukraine and will drag Lithuania into it too. Poland and Baltic states have become NATO's beachhead. Poland and Lithuania are vassals of the United States. The West will sacrifice the Poles and Lithuanians in the war because it does not care about these nations. Poland and Lithuania are provoking Russia. The Poles are already at war in Ukraine and the thousands have already died. The Poles have had enough of Ukrainian refugees and no longer want to support Ukraine. Poland and Ukraine are angry and no longer at odds. For the first group of narratives, the third group of the narratives is Lithuanian-Polish relations. Okay, sorry guys. The Kremlin's narrative are used to spread issues that are sensitive for Lithuania and Poland, and on which the two countries have either disagreed in the past or still disagree today. One of the most prominent narratives is that Lithuania and Poland are not equal partners. However, the opposite narrative has also emerged, that on certain issues, Poland is an example for the Lithuanian authorities. The main narrative identified in this group are following: Poland wants Lithuania to be its vassal. Lithuania wants to destroy Polish education. Lithuanian society is under the risk of the Polonization. Poland is example for Lithuania. And the last group, we called it other narratives. There were some other interesting narrative related to Belarus or to the economic situation in both countries. The main narrative identified Lithuania and Poland interfering in Belarus. Lithuania and Poland treat migrants brutally. Migrants brutally. Lithuanians and Poland's decisions to support sanctions robs both countries' societies. It is worth nothing that some of the narratives overlap with each other. For example, the narrative that Poland is interfering in Belarus overlap with the narrative that Poland wants to take back the lands it used to own. And some conclusions. I made it shorter. Russia's war against Ukraine has also led to more active dissemination of the Russian-Belarusian narrative in our region. With the same security interests and the same geopolitical situation, Poland and Lithuania are reacting in unison to the many issues, supporting each other. Russia, aware of the both countries are members of the European Union and NATO, which have a voice at the table, is trying to target both both the unity and legitimacy of both countries. Both countries are portrayed through the various narratives that are being circulated as the aggressive, fierce, Russophobic, hating not only Russia, but Russians in general. They are also portrayed as unreliable, often hysterical states that behave irrationally and thus pose a threat not only for themselves, but also to Europe as a whole, because they could provoke Russia, draw NATO into military actions, and lead to the World War III. By trying to paint both countries as hysterical and irrational, the pro-Kremlin propaganda is at the same time trying to steer them up against each other. To this end, it uses the old differences and sensitiveness between the two countries as well as history. Poland is portrayed as an aggressive neighbor that dreams of reclaiming territories that once belonged to it. Not only Western Ukraine, as the pro-Kremlin's propaganda constantly trumpets, but also the Vilnius county. At the same time, the narratives to warn that Poles still want Polonize Lithuania and look down on Lithuanians as the second-class citizens. Overall, all narratives are all aimed at increasing division in the region and decreasing support for Ukraine. Russia, seeing that it is not winning the war in Ukraine, is using disinformation, hostile propaganda, and manipulation to reduce support for Ukraine and Ukrainian refugees in the societies of both countries and to accelerate war fatigue. Therefore, every disagreement is blown up as far as possible as proof that support for Ukraine is about to wane and Ukraine will be forced to negotiating table. That's it. Thank you for listening. I'm ready to answer your questions if will be some.
Thank you, Giedrius. I have some questions for you. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes, thanks. Thanks to God. The evil of the bad things. I hope it wasn't any special black ops Russian. So my questions to you, Giedrius, from your experience, are there any particular social or geographical groups especially vulnerable to this type of narrative in Lithuania?
Of course it is. I would say they mainly targeting I'm calling the gray zone. It's about 20% of Lithuanian population, which is still living in how to say memories of Soviet Union when the sun was brighter and the sausage was more tasty. And we have to fight for their souls.
So what do you think, what kind of activity is the best to reach their hearts and minds? Through internet, through television, through street activity, or what do you think?
It is usually that it is older people. And the internet is not the best way to reach them. Of course, we have to still use it, but I think that the best thing is still printed media and television. That is really good when we finally started to broadcast Polish channels. Now we broadcast in at least 9 Polish channels, bringing through about our relations, about the fresh news. Finally, it's done. I think it will be very good impact.
Oh, yeah, it's nice to hear that. But what do you think about the young part of this family? Because you say it's mostly elder generation, but these elder generations have probably have some young in this family. Do you think we can reach the elder through the young part of the family, or something like this? Or the whole family is vulnerable to these Russia narratives, or they don't talk with each other because of some generations fight, or
But
How you
we can see really good how to say tendencies, especially in the Poles living in Lithuania. The younger generation, they traveling, they study in Lithuanian universities, in the Polish universities, and they are different. And as you said, that is very good. They're bringing back to the families explanation that is not everything is wrong. That the not occupying Lithuania, but we are just part of the big secure society. But we still I think for the younger generation, we have to use like the schools to spreading our narratives, internet, and for the older we have to use traditional media, TV and printed press.
Yeah, thank you very much. I asked because we have something in Poland, what it calls third age university, which are especially for the elders people. And we think the special lectures for the elder peoples in this kind of university, when they can meet each other and to meet with the experts, it can be in the real time, in the physical sphere. It can be also very helpful to create some space to talk about it.
I'm totally agree with you. We have the same kind of the universities, and we have to think to use your experience in Lithuania as well.
And Marianna, what do you think about it? Do you also have something like that?
Yes, definitely. We have seen also anti-NATO narratives, anti-European narratives. All this set is discovered by us as well, but we have a little bit different focus. We try to see which narratives has the most influential impact during the research period. So that's why I mentioned my top 10 list in a little bit different way. So, but yes, it's relevant for this region also. I would add here the idea that in such societies like Poland, Romania, and where is a low level of knowledge of Russian language, and where is mostly homogeneous anti-Russian traditional sentiments, it's not very effective to spread anti-European rhetoric. But it could be additional element to radicalize another topic. So that's where is it dangerous. It is not dangerous in itself, but it has a very strong impact to strengthen another topic. For example, what do I mean? When we are talking in the Polish context about the most manipulative, let's say, from our perspective, issue Ukrainian refugees. From the Russian strategical understanding, we can use anti-European rhetoric to show, to strengthen this anti-refugee rhetoric. For example, this rude Banderivtsi come and undermine your European values with their fascist behavior, for example. That is how it could be constructed and used two narratives to set one destructive story, for example. If you have more questions, you're welcome.
There are
It was good for a while, Maxim, but I think we cannot hear you at the moment. Please try again. No, we cannot hear Maxim. Marianna, thank you very much for all your answers. It's a question to the participants of the conference. Please do not hesitate to ask any questions. If there are some, just ask. I see here some questions from Viacheslav on our chat to Marianna and Giedrius. What do you think is any basis factual in state politics for Russian propaganda to use the narrative of Russophobia, or it's completely fake agenda? Yeah, of course, Giedrius.
I think the biggest Russophobia pushers are Russian propaganda. They doing everything to how to say, to hate them. Look at the war crimes, what they are doing in Ukraine. That is really strongest push for Russophobia.
Marianna?
Yes, I have some thoughts regarding this. I would suggest also to take a look what had said Timothy Snyder on the United Nations Security Council about Russophobia. This is a good example of meta-narratives. This is very big, grand narratives that Russian Federation tries to impose everywhere. And in different countries, it's addressing regarding the local context. So it can be related to the Soviet monument, it could be related to the Russian culture, it could be related to the Russian artist, whatsoever. So at the local level, Russia tried to find some proofs to support this argument on the high level, but it's very good sign that on the international level it has already started some discussions that this is the way how Russia tried to instrumentalize its aggression, and particularly its aggression against Ukraine. So I would say here this is not very dangerous for Polish context, but we are talking
Ir vienas iš klausimų yra dėl Lietuvos politikos Kinijos atžvilgiu. Tai nežinau, ar mums geriau klausti regioninio departamento.
Dariau, pas tave mikrofonas įjungtas.
Tai savo paklauskit Darius. Ten yra kontekstas.
Can you vote, please?
Nesuklaidinčiau, bet
Are you
Dariau, išjung mikrofoną.
Bet ten yra daugiau ne šitam, bet apie gynybos saugumo gynybos.
Yeah, Marianna, maybe you will ask the host to mute Darius for a while. Thank you.
Okay, the last actually.
Giedrius, the shortest way, just calling him.
Okay, that's fine. The last point.
At least everybody will remember this conference.
The last point I wanted to highlight regarding the Russophobia, it's very well. I would suggest because it needs to be done some kind of research. I investigate these days Russian propaganda in neutral countries, and I suggest that this Russophobia story, myths about Russophobia would be highly manipulative in the neutral states like Republic of Moldova, Austria. It's primarily actually because neutral states also, there are several levels how they behave. For example, Finland and Sweden come facing transformation of its neutrality status from the political point of view and its impact on the informational agenda as well. But when it comes to Republic of Moldova, it's highly relevant because it pushed Russian propaganda on the more legal level of its operating, because there in neutral context they can employ official political affiliated figures and legitimize this rhetoric through this mechanism. And obviously, they are talking about possibility to repeat so-called Ukrainian destiny. So you see how they try to articulate all this stuff. Not Russia will aggress you. You will repeat Ukrainian destiny, for example. And the same rhetoric regarding Russophobia. Russia will come to protect Russian-speaking people because you're Russophobes and whatsoever. And in neutral country, there is a very dangerous mechanisms where there are a lot of affiliated people involved in this mechanism. That is also that point you can find in our recommendations in full report version regarding the necessity, high time to employ legal mechanism to observe personalities staying behind from the legal point of view, because this story from the regional levels go far beyond the informational context, and we need more instruments in order to combat it effectively.
Thank you very much. Maxim?
Now, there is another question from Polish MFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I think it can be interesting. Piotr, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Maxim. First of all, I wanted to thank INFO OPS Poland for convening this meeting, and to our speakers for very interesting presentations. I very much look forward to reading the reports. Well, I don't have a question as such, just a short remark. The work you have done is very important. It's very important because our countries, well, Ukraine is being attacked by Russia, but Poland and Lithuania are on the forefront of the fight against, in this case, against the Russian propaganda and disinformation. So we are constantly being subject to Russian disinformation campaigns, to Russian propaganda. The Kremlin is trying to sow discord in our societies. But there's also another thing to it. If we look at it from a broader perspective, for example, from the perspective of the EU, these narratives saying that, for example, Polish society doesn't want its government to support Ukraine anymore, that Poles are allegedly, right, fed up with Ukrainian refugees. These narratives are also conveyed in other countries, namely in countries in the Western Europe. So it also poses a risk. And some of them, well, for example, states which, or countries which have recently experienced a government shift with political groups which are advocating for dwindling support for Ukraine. So this is an attempt from the Kremlin to convince also other societies that, look, if the staunchest supporters of Ukraine, like Poland, Lithuania, are having doubts right now, if there are some disagreements within the society, then why should we proceed? Why should we continue with the policies of supporting Ukraine, with sending arms and funds? So that only shows that the work you have done is very important, and we have to keep our situational awareness up to date, and we have to look what's happening on our backyard, because well, it's not only a struggle for hearts and minds of Polish and Lithuanian and Ukrainian societies, or struggle to poison them actually, but also an attempt to convene this message further. So that being said, I just wanted to thank you all once again, and that would be all from me. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piotr. I see there is one more question on the chat to both of you, Marianna and Giedrius. Can you look at it? I think it's a typical narrative and typical problem.
I think it is the same. The one of the narrative used by Russian propaganda. I just have nothing to add. Yes, that they're using the same homophobia.
I can address to the recent informational campaigns that Ukraine Crisis Media Center have done in July, if am I right. But if you're interested in this topic, you can send me email and I will help to find it. When I was involved in elaborating this campaign, and when we get deeper in this topic, we observed that homophobia instruments, let's say, have been employed as a preparation to discredit some, to marginalize some societal group. So it's very important to understand that it was like repetition of attack, repetition of marginalize some part of society in order to export this on Ukrainian, in our case, on us. But it has started not yesterday. It has started in Northern Caucasian, region in about 2010. So, and it was a strategy to reducing human rights in a very broad extent, to come in with some reducing rights laws on the enforcement systems, the level, the orchestrated some attacks on the level of regional authorities. So it was very planned. Actually, we discovered that it also has some plan behind it, and this story was for getting it into export, and all these instruments we can see right now employed in the aggression against Ukrainian. So, but this is a part of actually strategy of behaving. Now, maybe we can suggest that it was elaborated specifically to attack Ukrainians. It is specifically to attack some groups. And unfortunately, LGBTQ community has become one of the examples how Russia instrumentalized this message of behaving of attacking other groups of people.
Thank you very much. Both of you. I see Darius apologize for a little disturbance. Darius, no problem. I think your technical issue is nothing to compare with mine, so don't worry about this. I think there is like one more question from Maria.
Yes, I have a question for Marianna. Marianna, thank you for your report, and please, can you explain me how your center and maybe your personality, how to explain and using which platform to Ukrainian people that the current situation on the Polish border is not indicative for the whole of Poland now?
What do you mean? It's not indicative.
If your center did some work to explain the Ukrainian people that the current situation of the Polish border now is not indicative for the whole Poland, for the whole people.
I will start from Ukraine Crisis Media Center, where I worked before, and it was logical because this report is our joint project with our Polish colleagues. Ukraine Crisis Media Center continue to inform audience through press events, press conferences. due to the relevant topics. I guess the issue of Poland also on the table from the perspective of another units and other outlets with whom I collaborate. For example, StopFake monitoring situation on a daily basis, and where we see very hard fake, for example, also regarding Poland. We try to debunk it and we try to explain it why it is not true. From the point of research with organization where I'm affiliated, we tried to prove mathematically all social trends in order to have very solid, very strong argument, and to talk about these arguments in discussions, in other expert roundtables and whatsoever. So from my understanding, the most important thing is to have very solid arguments. This is the first. Regarding specifically this protests, personally, I have written several articles not about these protests, but with warning that Russia has some intentions to block Ukrainian borders, because obviously that logistics and some logistic routes that led through Poland, Moldova, and Romania is under the attacks of Russian Federation. It was obvious from the very beginning, from the informational agenda that they had been imposing at the beginning of the war. And the last very funny example, TV show 60 Seconds, for example, when these guys were discussing recently 2 or 3 days ago about how we can attack Ukraine from which side, Mr. Popov underlines that we need to attack Ukraine from the unexpected part. And somebody asked, from the part of Poland, and they started to laugh. So it's like, it's very funny sometimes, but sometimes Russian propaganda is very direct. And in very much cases, they are not lying, actually. The problem is that we don't consider it as a truth and the real intentions, because our society has rule of law. At least we try to try to make it incorporated in our lives. We have values, we have politics, we have elections, and we have societal orientations, ideologies. There is nothing like this in Russia, because this is like KGB state, which imposed only some narratives to control everything that shouldn't be under control. That is the problem. And I would say that there is an understanding regarding this in Ukrainian society, but we need more to inform people about the details. That is how we can debunk and control meta narratives, because when it comes to great stories, it comes to emotional perception. It comes at the same time to the conspiracy thinking. It comes at the same time to the abstract thinking. We need to give people more details in order to equip them with the ability to discuss something, because people discuss what they have, what they are able to consume. When they are able to consume just one narratives, that is informational vacuum, and this is a great problem. So, and this is applicable to this story again.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. I think it is very important to, like you said, Marianna, to show people the details and to decrease the emotional level of this of the public debate, because of course we both stay in the same side to fighting with Russians, and not only, but at the end of the day there always be some not common issue, like political issue, where we can disagree. So it's like normal in democratic states. We have the same with Germany or other countries. So it's very important to tell people where are Russia involved and where is just typical cooperations or competitions between two states. So I think there is more questions which make me very happy, but I think we at least try with Camille to show you, dear friends, the introductions. I think in information warfare, we should thinking and act outside of the box. So to make introductions at the end is one of them. I think it's okay, Camille. You can start from the second slide. So, dear guests and friends, this is the cover of the report. You can go to the first slide. The third one. Yes. So for these who don't know us very well yet, INFO OPS Poland Foundation is the only one non-government organization in Poland who deal with info ops or with influence operations. Not only with fake news, not only with disinformation, but mostly in info ops. So we're thinking a little wider about this. And we, of course, dealing with this from NATO perspective and Russia perspective, because the disinformation or info ops operations are a little different from the perspective of democratic and non-democratic countries. And that's what we are daily do. So the third, please, the next one. So why we can meet today? Let's back to the beginning, because our organizations approximately 1 year ago, we have brainstormed what we can do more, especially because there is a war, not only physically, but also in this information sphere. And we think we are starting losing it, because we are mostly now talking about Polish, Lithuanian, and Ukraine perspective. But when we look globally on Asia, on Latin America, or Africa, we can realize that Russia starts to have a supremacy in this information sphere. So we apply for this grant in a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our country, I mean Republic of Poland. It's a public diplomacy 2023, and there is a special task in this kind of grant to counter Russian and Belarusian propaganda. Fortunately, we get this grant and we create a project which name is Albatros. So we choose the name of the project Albatros not only because I'm watching too many American movies and I want to have a fancy nickname for the project, but also because this bird is very famous for the long distance travel and symbolize freedom, independence, and good fortune, and to fight for these values is a signet our project. So what we do during this project, our daily activity is to publications of warning about unidentified attempts to manipulating the Polish-speaking information environment. We also do once per week, something is what we call the INFO Pact. It's Russian or Belarusians or Chinese narrative from the whole week perspective. And we do that when we do it in 5 languages: Polish, German, French, English, of course, and Spanish. We also wrote several popular science texts, mostly science, about propaganda itself, about Russia historical propaganda or Belarusian propaganda. One per month, we are doing a special analytical comment when we are in deeply analyzed, show to the open public what was going on in the previous month. My favorite one is a series of infographics, like you can see this on the right on the top. So we create like 6 now, but there will be 2 more. So there will be 8 infographics about decompositions of Russian modus operandi. So we will show in very easy and nice looking way what is Russian techniques, what they are doing, and how, not only what are their narratives, but how, but by what method, what techniques they want to spread these narratives to our society. Of course, we do also some specializing training for our members of administrations. A very interesting project is Global South, because a lot of Russia propaganda is in not only Africa, but also in Middle East and in Iraq itself. So we also have some activity in Iraq. The next one, please. And one of this activity, which is very important to us because we are very closely working together, not only Giedrius with Marianna, but I mean with the states, with Lithuania and Ukraine. There is also a special alliance, what it's called a Lubelski Triangle. It is about cooperations in these 3 countries, Polish, Ukrainian, and Lithuanian. So it's very important for all of us to tight our connections as much as we can. So in our daily activities, we know very well what Russian doing in Poland, in Phosphor, and how they are creating this false and disinformations and manipulations image of Ukrainian people, Ukrainian refugee, but also about Lithuanian. We will also have some public openly reports about this, about Russian attempts to disrupt our connections, but mostly in Poland, what Russian trolls, but not only, speaking in Polish and how they want to influence Polish infosphere. So we was curious if there is the same or maybe another pattern of influencing in our alliance partner in Lithuania and Ukraine. So that's why we asked our partners to do some report like this. And there was questions about where we can read or download these reports. Of course, you can do that on our page, our internet page. There are reports in both language. It's very important. We do that in both, in English and the local language of our partner. So it's also in Ukrainian and Lithuanian language, this report. I'm more than sure we will also send to you after the conference via email the PDF reports, but also you can look at our new page or our partner page. There will be some campaign after this promotion campaign to show to the people these reports. So thank you very much, and big sorry once again. I hope it wasn't any diversion. And I think we still have a couple of minutes. So if there is any more questions, it was probably from Stanisław. If you still have these questions, the floor is yours.
Hello, may I share my thoughts on this issue about the report? Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stanisław Żelichowski. Thank you for your very interesting presentations. Indeed, today we gather to discuss a critical topic of our time, informational operations that significantly impact relations between countries. This is especially pertinent for Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine, the states of the Lublin Triangle. We are witnessing the active engagement of Russian and Belarusian informational operations aimed at shaping a specific narrative and influencing relation between Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine. This operation encompasses the dissemination of disinformation, creating creation of manipulated images and subversion of international cooperation, especially after the Russian aggression, Russian Federation full-scale invasion of Ukraine. These days, we have witnessed a growing influence of Russian propaganda, especially through the spread of various disinformation narratives in the media. Russian media often works to create a negative image of Poland, employing in intentionally constructed historical and political context. This poses a danger to relation between Poland and other countries, particularly Lithuania and Ukraine. In addition, Russian politicians frequently make statements that can be characterized as provocative and aimed at creating conflicts. It is crucial for us to understand how these information operations can affect our understanding and perception of relation between between states. Our objective is to unveil these manipulations, examine their impact on the relationships between these countries, and discuss potential strategies to identify and counteract informational threats. The primary our objective is to unveil this manipulation and also especially in the era of rapid informational dissemination, we have to understand to address in order to understand this, we must address in these challenges is crucial for maintaining regional stability and fostering genuine cooperation. That is why this report in the development of which I had the honor to participate is very relevant and important. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this comment. It's good that we speak the same language and see this threat in the same level. So, are there any more comments? I think we can make the last one comment or the questions. If there are not, thank you very much for your, especially for your patience at the beginning. Yes. So thank you very much. Stay in contact, and what can I say? Together for the victory. Yes, there is a long fight in forward of us, and I think maybe it is the first one live meeting, online meeting with you guys, but I think it will be not the last one, and I hope sooner or later we will also meet to celebrate the Ukrainian victory. So thank you very much once again. We will email you with this report. Take care and have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Goodbye.